Well, hello there, all you good-looking people. Only the best-looking people. Welcome in. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg. Around the world on the Odyssey app. AUDACY. Grab it. Put it on all your digital devices. And don't miss a minute of the broadcast. What's happening, upstate South Carolina? How do you do, America? Hello, world. Great to be with you once again on a Thursday morning. And I got to tell you, this show proudly provided by Monster Energy Drink. Because Lonzo and I, for a month and a half, have been going, hey, man, we got tickets to go see All Elite Wrestling at the Colonial Life Arena in the great city of Columbia, South Carolina. Let's get it. And then they said a week before the show, oh, by the way, you guys now work at 9 a.m. and you need to be in the office by 7. What we did not know is that for a wrestling show yesterday evening, 2 hours away from the studio. For a wrestling show 2 hours away from the studio that started at 7. See, we thought, well, they go live at 8 for Wednesday Night Dynamite. We're going to check that out. We're out of there afterwards. We head on back to the house. They did an hour of a show called AEW Dark. Then they did 2 hours of Dynamite. And then we learned that they film AEW Rampage in the same spot right after Dynamite, which led to a spot where Lonzo, myself, and friend of the show, Joey B, got out of the Colonial Life Arena. What time, Zoe? Probably about 11:17 p.m.?
Huh?
Yeah.
I want to thank the city, state, whatever of South Carolina for deciding to put construction on 26 last night. I appreciate that.
Okay.
That was just awesome.
Listen here. All right. First off, can I just say, and this is not a criticism at anybody except the people who made the decision who are terrible and deserve punishment of some type. First off, the death funnels on I-26 between here and Columbia, right? There are miles where the interstate has concrete barriers. I'm talking right on the side of the interstate. Like, reach out. You don't even have to extend your arm to touch them on the side of the interstate. Don't, but you don't have to. And then, on the way back, leaving Columbia with tens of thousands of friends of the show who were at the wrestling show last night, once you get into the death funnel, already treacherous enough, right? The death funnel is already treacherous enough. Then last night, they go, hey, we really need to do some work on this bridge. That's right in the middle of I-26, in the midst of the death funnel.
It was a really large girder, I guess, is what you would call it.
They're building a bridge, right? Or rebuilding a bridge. I don't know, but there's a bridge, and there were big bridge parts on the side of the road, for which they backed traffic up and stopped it about 4 miles before you got to the bridge. And about 3 miles before you got to the bridge, the interstate goes one lane. So we had everybody leaving Columbia to come back from the upstate from a sold-out All Elite Wrestling show yesterday evening, going through 4 miles of death funnel with bridge construction down to one lane. We got in the car, and the GPS said, your ETA is 1:10, 1 o'clock. We get on the interstate. The GPS gives the old, bing, updated information. 2:37 a.m. was our ETA back here to the studio to hop in the rigs and head to the house. Now, I did, ladies and gentlemen, get to have quite the experience yesterday. Captain America Chris Evans down the hall in the studio here helping us do some technical work. He might appreciate this. I, for the first time yesterday, saw the Reitzel compound.
See the cool part about this, the only people in this building who have seen it are in this room.
Everybody in this room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's Captain America, Chris Evans down the hall. I saw the Reitzel compound. And ladies and gentlemen, we've always kind of made the concept of the Reitzel compound a bit of a running gag. No, it's a compound, folks. It's a compound. Like, you've got to go over the river and through the woods, over two bridges, I guess, and then you've got to turn a corner down a dark little forest path that, if you didn't know better, was the intro title clip to the worst horror movie you've ever seen.
It's different at night, isn't it? Like I told you.
Coming out of your neighborhood at 1:17 in the morning was horrifying. I told Joe, our buddy Joe was driving, we get out of the compound, and when you leave Lonzo's compound, like literally, you drive on, I would say it's a single lane road, but it's like 85% of a single lane gravel path with a wooded canopy all around it that goes over a couple of cricks, and there are cricks out where Lonzo lives. And leaving that in the midst of the night, I told him, dude, if your car breaks down out here, just assume you are murdered. Just assume they will find your body when the sun comes up at some point.
You're good as long as you don't hear this distinctive scream in the distance or banjos. Either way, you're probably all right. That truck is kind of a fortress, so you might have been okay.
Yeah, in my car, we'd have been like, I'd have been Drew Barrymore in every Scream movie.
I will tell you, I've walked that driveway in the dark before. I would not recommend it.
No. I barely recommend going to the Reitzel compound in the daytime. I was half expected to be met with like guys in overalls and nothing else at the end of the road. And I don't say that as an insult. I say that as a fact.
Welcome to Lawrence County.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Rob Brown Show. Let's get it going. Speaking of all elite wrestling, be elite, be elite. Lonzo and I are going to talk about that show coming up this, almost that afternoon, morning.
Have we figured out a time yet?
Yeah, we're going to do it in the second segment of the final hour.
Okay.
So about 11:20. About 11:20, make sure you're here because it's Thursday, and you know what that means. It is time for Lonzo's Fight Club, your home for all things combat sports across the upstate, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up in the final segment of this hour, so around 9:35-ish, we'll be joined by Rashad Beard. He is the host of the Panther Nation podcast. It is my source for all things Panthers news and information. We'll talk to Rashad Beard coming up.
Why is it just your source? I think it's our source, isn't it? Like our, as in, me, you, and the entire listening audience.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm hitting the giggle stage awful early.
Once again, this show powered by Monster Energy Zero Ultra in the big can. And it's only in the big can because they don't make a bigger can, which would have been making an appearance today if it was available.
They might. I mean, we need to look into that. If you do know of a larger can, we're at 25 Garlington Road.
Yeah.
If you want to bring that by, there's no one
in bucket size.
Yeah, there's no one to open the door. You can just leave it with a note out in the rain.
Just tweet us that it's out front. We'll come down and get it. Joe gets, so our buddy Joe is driving. We get halfway back, and, we leave Columbia, and when we get in the truck, I'm like, listen, man, I hate to be a diva. I need a gas station, like, immediately. He's like, you got to pee? I'm like, no. I need to survive the rest of this trip home. My night last night was up or down or upper, and, like, not in a weird call the cops way, but there was a monster consumed on the way home. Then there was a Tylenol PM consumed at home, and then there was a monster consumed upon the alarm going off. Let's just say the kidney stones are going to be terrible, but unavoidable.
Shout out to Ryan on the stream, by the way. You can check us out on Facebook and on YouTube, who says, I see you guys are not used to being up early as well. No, that's not it, Ryan. We were up early. We were up way.
Listen,
But it's worth it.
I got to say this. A couple of things. One, when we got these tickets, we worked noon to 3, which means I didn't have to be in the studio until, when we were 12 to 3, I was in here by 9:30. A couple of 2.5 hours or so, 3 hours of prep, plenty enough, because I do most of my prep at night. And that was fine. With the 9 a.m. kickoff, your boy's on the field hitting the warm-ups at 7 a.m. here in the building. And no, as my old radio mentor told me when I did the morning show back then, and I asked him once, hey, man, how long does it take to get used to the new schedule of waking up at 4 in the morning? He said, you never get used to waking up early. You just get used to being tired. And, when we bought these tickets, 2 months ago they were announced? Something like that. We were still in the 12 to 3 spot. So Alonzo and I are both like, we're fine, dude. We may push the envelope and show up at 10:30 that day, but we're good. And then a week before the show, they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, boys, you're in the office between 6:30 and 7 now. And Lonzo and I had the opportunity. Do we make the adult responsible decision and go, you know what, we should probably just watch it at the house? Or do we be the awesome people that we are and go, hey, one day of powering through it, we got this? That was an easy answer. Because we're adults. We went to the wrestling show 2 hours from work that ended 6 hours before we had to be at work.
And if you want the entire experience, because I had some experiences that I have never had at a live event, tune in about 11:35, something like that, and you'll be able to hear it.
Zoe took a bathroom break, and let's just say ended up accidentally feet away from where one of the coolest things in the show happened. Just accidentally went to the bathroom and ended up feet away from one of the coolest moments of the show.
And yes, I had popcorn.
Love it.
Just happened to be that way.
All right, we're going to talk about all of that. That is coming up at 11:20 today. We'll do Fight Club. Your home for all things combat sports in the upstate. Make sure you stick around for that. Coming up in about 20 minutes from right now, Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast will join us. A lot of Panthers news the last couple of days that we are going to get into. But before we get into any of that, we got plenty other stuff to talk about. By the way, our buddy Mark Ennis, who has been... Actually, I have not had him on this show here in the upstate yet. But I've had Mark on plenty of times in the past. Mark is based out of Louisville, Kentucky. By the way, it is Louisville. Louisville. It's like a 4-syllable word said in one syllable. Louisville. No breaks, just Louisville. Which, of course...
It's kind of like Greenville.
Yeah, it's Greenville, Knoxville. But Louisville...
And my family's from Pikeville.
Down in Florida. I came from Fort Walton Beach, which is right next to Niceville, Florida. Except for Louisville has 3 syllables, but you don't actually pronounce any of them.
I just want to point out that even if he wasn't tired, he still would have counted on his hands.
So Mark Ennis from 93.9 The Ville will join us coming up on tomorrow's show. Obviously, as South Carolina takes on Louisville in the women's Final Four, set to be played tomorrow evening. And Lonzo, hypothetically, if I really wanted to partake in that game, but I just was not able to be in front of a TV when Aaliyah Boston, Dawn Staley, and the girls take on Louisville, any idea where I might be able to partake in that basketball game?
If it were me, would tune in to the Fan, 97.7, 97.1. That's what I would do.
Wait, you mean that we'll be carrying live play-by-play of the women's Final Four, including South Carolina taking on Louisville tomorrow evening?
Not only will we be carrying it, we'll be carrying it exclusively in the upstate, Rob.
You mean if I wanted to tune in to live play-by-play of South Carolina taking on Louisville in the women's Final Four and wanted to listen to every bit of the action start to finish and wanted to listen to it on the radio, it's exclusively and only which mean the same thing, but I emphasized it. That's how radio works right here on the Fan Upstate.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll be gosh darned. Would you look at that? Ladies and gentlemen, your final four of the women's and men's tournament, all taking place right here on and exclusively on the Fan Upstate. Anyway, Mark Ennis of 93.9 The Ville over there in Louisville, Kentucky, will be joining us on the show tomorrow. Tomorrow, I love you tomorrow. Basketball's only a day away to break down that women's Final Four contest between the Cardinals and the Gamecocks. It's a bird game. We got a bird game. Bird games are always the best. You always get great competition out of bird games. Speaking of the South Carolina Lady Gamecocks, how about Aaliyah Boston? That young lady is going to need to significantly add shelf space to her trophy case because she picked up another one. The South Carolina Star was named the 2021-22 Naismith Player of the Year Award winner yesterday, rewarding her in a season in which the Gamecocks entered the Final Four with a 33-2 record. Boston, who is remarkably good on both ends of the floor, averaging 16.8, averaging 12.2 boards, averaging 1.9 assists, 2.5 blocks, 1.4 steals per game, and is shooting over 54% from the field. Oh, but wait! There's more. Boston also took home the Naismith Defensive Player of the Year award to go with her unanimous All-American honors. Her SEC Player of the Year award, Dawn Staley, received the Naismith Coach of the Year award because, obviously, she did. So Aaliyah Boston, who has been an absolute stud for the Lady Gamecocks and Dawn Staley's team, takes home the Best Player in the Country award and the Best Defensive Player of the Country award, while her head coach, Dawn Staley, takes home the Naismith Award for Coach of the Year, and in a moment that I thought was legit. We talked the other day about how important culture is to a program. In a moment that showed you that Dawn Staley knows exactly how to build culture, you know what the first thing she did when she won that award was? Called up her entire coaching staff to take a picture with her with the trophy. Said, this is not a me award, this is an us award. Brought up the entire coaching staff to go on stage and grab a picture with her and the trophy. Dawn Staley knows how to build a culture. We talked about this earlier in the week, right? A team culture can have every bit, if not more, of an impact on the team as the talent on the roster. You can have an incredibly talented roster, but if you have zero culture that they buy into, that they want to be a part of, you just got a bunch of talented players. Does nothing for you. Dawn not only has a group of very talented ladies rocking the garnet and black, but she has built a culture that they have bought into, and their reward is another Final Four appearance against Louisville tomorrow. And again, you can hear that game right here on the Fan Upstate. Let's turn to a break. When we come back here in just a moment from right now, ladies and gentlemen, your United States men's national soccer team is headed to the World Cup. Basically, all they had to do last night was not have the worst letdown in sports history, and they didn't, which was good enough. We'll talk about that 2-0 loss to Costa Rica in a game that didn't matter unless they lost by 6, which they didn't, and the qualification to head to Qatar for the 2022 World Cup. That's coming up next. My name is Rob. The great Malonzo's on the board. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate.
You can do whatever you want.
Can.
I was talking about how you could do it.
No, I know. You were giving me methods to do it, and I agree.
Rob, I will also tell you, I have a Costco membership, and I know that they sell cases of Monster. I don't know if it comes in a 5-gallon.
So do you want me to
drum.
Venmo you or?
Or you know what would be even better? Sponsorship.
True. Kevin, get on it. Ryan says still not used to you guys being on so early. You know who else isn't used to it? Literally us.
By the way, Trey, yeah, we were stuck in that. We talked about that at the beginning of the show.
Steven says, let me update you on what happened last night, Rob. Greg Berhalter still sucks. That's all. I got to tell you, Steven, I'm not as down on it as I am. I'm going to talk about that here in a minute when we come back. Keegan, hi, fellas. So far, so good on sound. Can't wait to hear about All Elite Wrestling Fight Club at 11:20. Make sure you're here for that. Trey says you guys made it back. I mean, yeah.
See, I could have went to sleep, but
Right, there it is. Ryan says, I see you guys are not used to it either. Nope, we are not.
I could
I like
have.
the comment about just getting used to being tired.
It's 100. Yeah. My old morning show host Adam McCloskey. When I moved to mornings for the first, well, actually my first job was producing mornings, but when I moved to co-hosting mornings, because when I was producing, we went on at 6. I was there at like 5:45 because we had a traffic lady who set the brakes the night before. So I showed up at 5:45, click on the board, I'm ready to go. When I moved to hosting, and I had to start being there at 4:30 in the morning to build the show. He was like, "Oh no, you're just gonna be tired. It's not an option."
I just got to say, everyone in this room understands that.
Oh, yeah. So the U.S. men's soccer team last night down in San Jose, Puerto Rico, drops the match 2-0. Costa Rica, not Puerto Rico. Those are very different places. Costa Rica dropped the match 2-0 and take the L, but walk out as qualifiers. The only way the Americans would not have qualified for that World Cup would have been to lose that game 6-0. Now, I did not get to watch the match, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately. We were doing awesome things elsewhere. Got it on the DVR at the house. Going to watch it later on today, but I have seen the highlights. And basically what it looked like to me was the Americans had the mentality of, look, if we win the game, cool. If we don't win the game, cool. Just don't lose by 6. And perform what would have been, I think, the biggest meltdown in professional sports history, right? Like, I was trying to think of other meltdowns that would have been comparable to a 6-0 loss that cost us World Cup qualifying and put us on a one-game play-in game in Qatar in June. So basically playing a soccer match on the surface of the friggin' sun to make it to the World Cup. And I don't know that there would have been one. Now, there's no need to break it down because it didn't happen. Yeah, like it didn't happen, but it would have been. It would have been worse than 28-3 in the Super Bowl. Bad, right? They didn't do it. They went out there. They played their game. Steven, in our Facebook chat, which you can watch the stream at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, or as we are now doing right here in the studio, which if you're watching the stream, you can watch us watching the stream of 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 us watching the stream. And I think that's about the time that the TV diminishes so much in size that you can no longer watch us watching the stream, watching the stream, watching the stream, watching the stream.
So if you see me make sudden movements or start dancing or
He's
something,
just watching himself on TV.
we're testing out how long it takes to get from one panel to the next panel.
Yeah, and Lonzo's only needed to do that about 27 times so far. Do you have it down to a time yet? Or are you just doing it and then not keeping track of time because you find it amusing?
I would say yes to all those.
Fair enough.
And also, if I were more awake, I'd probably do it more.
Watch this stream at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/therobbbrownshow, twitter.com/thefanupstate, and watch us on YouTube, The Rob Brown Show channel. I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to that. I put some new video editing software on the computer the other day, and now we can start making YouTube videos, short clips that will get posted there as well. So make sure you're following that at the Rob Brown Show on YouTube. Anyway, on the stream, Steven said, let me update you on what happened last night, Rob. Greg Berhalter still sucks. That's all. End quote. I'm not going to go that far. I will tell you that in the last few matches, I have pulled back from my reservations about Greg Berhalter. Now, that does not make me pro Greg Berhalter. I need to see what this team does in the World Cup, right? This is a team that, for me, the expectation is the knockout round, and the expectation is the second round of the knockout round, the round of 8. I expect the round of 8. Anything less than the round of 8, for me, will be an unjustifiable disappointment. So I got to see. But we saw in the last game a 5-1 win over Panama. We saw a killer instinct that we have not seen out of the U.S. men's national team in some time. And it was good to see. Question is, can that be maintained?
It seems like soccer fans are just not happy, not satisfied. They're doing pretty well, right? Are you just waiting for who they really are to show up? I mean, maybe they're on the right track this time.
I mean, there's trepidation, right? Why wouldn't there be? You have hurt me before.
Not just you, but people on the stream are just like, just waiting for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, inevitable collapse has been the name of the game for the Americans on the men's side. Inevitable collapse has been the name of the game. And I think we're all kind of waiting for it. But we saw that killer instinct against Panama. Panama, ha, 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 ha.
Hey, man, you're going to get us flagged.
Panama. We saw the meltdown, or the killer instinct, so we know that it is there. We talked about the Mexico game, the 0-0 draw down at Stadio Azteca, which for the first time in a very long time, the Americans went down, took a draw against Mexico, and it was a disappointment instead of a moral victory, if you will. Right? It was the first time that we went, we should have won that game at Mexico. Right? The finishing has got to get better. I cannot argue that. The finishing of this American football team has got to be better. They have got to start drilling opportunities into the back of the net, something that they lacked last night. It should have been 2-0 at halftime last night, but they just couldn't finish. Granted, credit to Costa Rica's goalkeeper, who was phenomenal yesterday evening, but they've got to start finishing when those opportunities present themselves if they want a chance at the Frances and the Españas of the world. Have to. But they came into that game last night with the knowledge that you are qualified provided you don't have the worst collapse in sports history. So just play smart. And I think they did. Right? I said against Mexico, I wish they would have had the killer instinct. I wish they would have went down there, got the 3, and put that game away. And really, they could have. One of those opportunities they miss goes in. They win that game. We're qualified before we play Panama. But they went out there against Panama, and they finished it. Last night, didn't need to have the killer mentality. Go out there and don't collapse. And they didn't, which is good, right? Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, Rashad Beard is the host of the Panther Nation podcast. He is our source for all things Panthers news and information. We're going to break down some of the news stories that have been coming out the last couple of days with Rashad. That's next on the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. Bravo.
No, I'm just.
Oh, no, I'm awake.
No, you went a little glassy-eyed there for a second. I was a little worried, just a little bit.
All right. Rashad, what's up, fella?
What's up? What's up?
How you doing, big dog?
Pretty good. Hanging in there.
That's all you can do, my guy. Are we getting positive shot back this week, or are we just kind of floating neutral right now?
We're neutral. I mean, it's not nothing bad. We're good. Everything's good.
Glad to hear it. Go ahead and prepare yourself. We will be asking you about Matt Rule, the Dancing King.
Yeah. Got it. If there's no video, it didn't happen, man.
This is one of the, I've always said, Rashad, I don't accept anything as true until you give me the evidence to believe that it is true.
Right.
Except for Matt Rule tears it up at dance parties, which I'm just going to go ahead and believe is true.
We'll see. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know about that one.
I love it. Easy Thriller.
I want you to know, I was not doing Thriller. I was doing Scooby-Doo, okay? There's a difference between this and this.
Rashad, are you a karaoke guy?
Nah, not a big karaoke guy.
We talked about that at the end of the show yesterday. Because the guy that plays the Flash was in Hawaii and got arrested at a karaoke bar because people were singing and he just started flipping tables, right? And I said, if hating karaoke is a crime, you can go ahead and lock me up too. Because I think karaoke is one of the worst things that's ever happened to America. And then I got hit by like 50 people on Twitter that were shocked and hated that take.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. Just not a big karaoke person.
See, here's the difference. Rob doesn't like to go and watch people do things badly. I kind of enjoy that. I got to admit, the worse it is, the better it is. Because then you can practice your straight man. Can you stay? Can you just keep a straight face and not laugh?
Yeah.
It's working on the craft. Hey, thank you for making it darker for me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, buddy. It was really just to
You trying to equalize?
Make my face look less like a ghost.
Yeah, but you made mine look darker. I don't know why you did that. Hey, look, my hair's receding. I didn't see that. We now have YouTube on the TV behind us. So
just stares at himself for
no, I'm just playing around with the delay because the TV's in the TV's in the TV, which I thought would happen. And so I think we got three. You got to look really hard for the third one, but still, it's in there. You see it?
Well, this is me looking at me, and in just a second, third Rob is going to turn around.
It's the first day of this. We can't help it. I mean, and we're both sleep deprived. So it's going to be any movement. It's going to get my attention.
We hit AEW last night in Columbia, Rashad.
Yep.
And they filmed all three shows back to back to back. So it was 4 hours and 45 minutes of wrestling. Got back to the studio. I got back to the studio to pick up my car about 2:30 this morning. And then with the new schedule, we got to be here at like 7. At 25, Rob Brown would have had no problem with that.
Right.
At 37, your boy is feeling the hurt today.
Yeah.
I mean,
I believe that. I believe that.
It was worth it, though. We're gonna complain about it all day, but it was worth it. It was really, really good. Although I'm upset that I couldn't be more hyped for Keith Lee but he was the final match.
Yeah.
Like
it was 4 hours
almost
in.
midnight.
4 hours in when he came out.
It was a good match, though.
It was a great match.
By the way, it hasn't happened yet, so I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it because it happens Friday. Still, it was a good match.
Keith Lee versus Powerhouse Hobbs, and it
I
was
saw
just a slugfest.
Yes, I tuned in a little bit to watch AEW last night.
So I guess we can't really talk about those last few matches.
Oh, we could, but that might hurt our relationship with AEW, and I don't want to do that. You're getting some good guests from them.
I'm trying to get with AEW way that Sam Phillips got with WWE, you know? Like the random radio dude that all of a sudden starts showing up on pay-per-views for no good reason.
Yeah. Like
You
Rosenberg.
kill it on TV though. Some other wrestling fans get on TV. They're not nearly as good, but you've got experience. And I'm not, kissing up because it wouldn't do me any good. It wouldn't get me anything, is what I mean.
I will give you my first 2 tickets, predominantly because nobody else in my family would want them.
I just want to go. That's my guy. All right, here we go.
Final segment of the opening hour of the Rob Brown Show is right here on the Fan Upstate. I'm Rob, Lonzo at the helm. And to the computer, there we go, as joining us live on the stream as he does every Thursday to talk Carolina Panther football with us, the great host of the Panther Nation podcast. You can find them on Twitter at Panther Nation PC. But of course, what we want you to do is go find the Panther Nation podcast YouTube channel, get yourself subscribed, and don't miss a moment of the countless live streams that they do every week, including breaking down some pro days, what we're going to talk about here in just a minute. Rashad Beard joins us here on the Rob Brown Show. Shad, what's up, fella?
What's going on? Another week. We're back at it.
I love it. I love to hear it. And I've got to open it. 2 weeks ago, we ended the show, and I was Googling numbers for therapists in Charlotte. Last week, you said positive Rashad is back, baby. Did we carry that momentum for a week, Rashad, or are we back in the middle area?
Yeah, we're not. I mean, we're not back. We're coasting right now. I think we're in a good place. I think the ultimate factor on where I go will be the draft, which is coming up soon. And again, we got a couple of holes to fix. We got left tackle, we got quarterback. We get those two, and I think we'll be good to go. And at that point, it'll come down to coaching. And so, again, I think that was the biggest issue last year. But from a personnel standpoint, I'm happy with what's been done. And so from that aspect, I'm still good. We're still good.
So last year, really the last couple of years, but leading into last year, Rashad, I have said the Panthers' biggest problem, and this is not dismissing coaching as a problem, because it is, but the Panthers' biggest problem, I thought, was decision-making from the front office, right? It was the contracts, it was the roster build, it was the relationship with players, the relationship with fans. I thought that was the biggest problem, but this offseason, I agree with you. This offseason, I think we've seen some pretty good decision-making as far as free agency goes. There's been some good pickups. As far as Carolina's interactions with fans has gone, I think there's been some good stuff there. If that is the case, does that mean that this is Matt Rule's year to prove it or not to? The whole thing was everywhere he's been, it takes 3 years to rebuild, right? It took 3 at Temple, 3 at Baylor. This is year 3 for Matt Rule. Is this put up or shut up time for Matt Rule? Or is there a line that you might get to and go, okay, he's earned a year 4?
I mean, listen, he's got to make the playoffs. And I've said that, and I stand by it. If we don't make the playoffs, we don't have to win a division, right? We can get one of those wild cards. But I think the playoffs is the ultimate, I guess that's the bar for me. You have to make the playoffs. You got to even getting a quarterback, showing a little bit of promise is not enough. I mean, this roster has talent. We've got to be able to coach it. And I do think they bought some actual guys that know what they're doing. Talking about Ben McAdoo. They're bringing in some guys that Steve Wilkes. These guys have been around the block. They've been coaches, head coaches before. So there's some veteran experience on this coaching staff, and I think that's going to help him out. I'm looking forward to that year 3. I mean, like you said, they talked about it at Baylor and Temple. The year 3 is where it's supposed to pop, and if it doesn't, I think he's got to go. And I think I think we've finally seen. I think we've finally been allowed to see the GMs actually do their work, right? Scott Fitter has been around for 2 years now, and last year he came in on the back end of a pretty hectic situation. Now, I believe personally we're seeing him with a little bit more control. I don't know that to be fact. That's just my opinion based on what I've seen. He's the one out there speaking. He's been the one kind of driving the direction, and it appears that he has a little bit more power than what he's had in the year prior. So I feel like, Scott Fitter has put together a decent roster. Whoever they have collaborated to put together a decent roster, and I feel like, yes, it's put up or shut up time. If we don't make the playoffs, he's got to go.
Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. So, we've been spending time talking about quarterbacks as the potential selection at number 6 overall for Carolina. I think you and I both have agreed that Malik Willis is our choice if given the opportunity. But you guys have been posting videos about the pro days of Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, Matt Corral, and Desmond Ridder. After watching those pro days, what were your takeaways? And after watching the pro days, was there a guy that made you maybe not change your mind away from Malik, but go, if it's not Malik, I'd be okay with this guy?
I mean, yeah, if it's not Malik, I think I've always been okay with Kenny Pickett. I don't think the pro days, and again, a pro day should never change anyone's mind. Like, it should either cement what you already know, but no one should be knocked down from a bad pro day. That's just my opinion. It's just T-shirts and shorts, right? So we're not going out there. We're not under pressure. We're just slinging a football. Everything is designed for you to be perfect. So I'm not, even if you have a bad day, I'm not going to kill you for it. So I feel like Malik Willis did a great job. And one of the things with Malik Willis's pro day that I enjoyed was the fact that I saw leadership from him. It was different when you looked at the other pro days. He was out there kind of coaching his guys. Hey, keep your head up. You dropped the football. And that's the biggest thing, right? When we watch Malik Willis's pro day, look at what he's been surrounded with at Liberty. Like, he doesn't have the best talent. He doesn't have ACC, SEC level wide receivers playing with him. He has guys that drops footballs, and we saw that during the pro day. But what did he do? Hey, keep your head up. You're good. Hang in there. And I saw that during this pro day, and that's what really got me, because I didn't see that during the season. When you turn on his film, I didn't see that. So I was really excited to see that from Malik Willis, the leadership aspect, and he looked like he was having fun, man. It reminded me a lot of Cam Newton. Cam is a real guy. He likes having fun. And I saw that in Malik Willis as well. And obviously he's cut from the Cam Newton cloth, going back to the 7-on-7s and all that stuff. So Malik Willis, again, football aside, just the kind of intangibles, I really like what I saw from him. So he didn't do anything but cement my position on him. But Kenny Pickett did a great job, strong arm. Matt Corral, I like Matt Corral as well. He's a guy that I've always liked. He was actually, I think at one point last year, he was top on my list. He was right there. And I just feel like the injuries kind of knocked him back a little bit. But Ridder's a guy too. I think if you can get him in the second round, I think he'd be a great option. He's a huge arm. Like, he has a really, really big arm, a little bit raw. He's going to be a little bit older as well. But I like all these guys. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if we got any of the guys, but it just depends on where you get them. And I still think Malik Willis is at the top of that food chain for me.
Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. So, segueing that, there has been a lot of talk about a potential reunion with Cam. And I've been asked a couple of times about, is that a possibility? My thought was a reunion with Cam, one more year with Cam Newton, makes sense if Malik Willis is the pick, right? It gives Malik some time to learn under him. Cam has the opportunity to do one of two things. He either has the opportunity to come out, have a hell of a send-off in his final year and give the Panthers an opportunity, or he comes out, the Panthers don't reach the expectations that they have. Cam maybe doesn't reach the expectations he has for himself, but Malik gets some time to learn the speed of the game, learn from a guy who plays a similar, little more physical style game than Malik, but a similar style of game. Either way, it's good for the Panthers, right? Either Cam rises to the expectations and you get one more good year out of the cat before you turn the reins over to Malik Willis, or Cam doesn't rise, but it buys Malik 6 or 7 or 8 weeks to learn the speed of the game before you just throw him in for a baptism by fire. The only spot I can come up with that a reunion, a one-year send-off of Cam Newton makes the most sense is if Malik Willis is the pick.
Yeah, I think with Cam, it's such a difficult situation because if you read the tea leaves of what's going on, he just wants a fair shot, right? We brought him in last year, and everything was built for Sam Darnold. Even when Cam Newton was brought in, he was there because Sam Darnold got injured and we needed a guy, right? And it wasn't necessarily a fair shot. And shout out to my co-host Dave. He's been saying that for the longest time about Cam getting a fair shot in competing, right? Like, don't just bring me in because you need a guy. Like, I want to be able to be judged fairly when I come out there and play. And I don't think he got that opportunity because guess what? When Sam Darnold was healthy, guess who got the start? It was Sam Darnold, not Cam Newton. So they're building this thing for Sam Darnold. That's another thing we got to talk about, right? Everything is still pointing towards Sam being the guy, right? There's still, and I know, they're going to say that until they can get another guy in the building to say he's not the guy, but they're still showing that confidence in Sam. And until we get that figured out, because you still have PJ Walker, we're not going to go into the season with 4 quarterbacks. So even if we draft Malik Willis and pick up Cam Newton, somebody's got to go at that point, because you still have Sam Darnold and PJ Walker. So the quarterback room, it needs some work. We have to figure it out. But I agree, if we do get a Malik Willis, Cam Newton, having him on that roster from a leadership standpoint, to be able to mentor him, it's a perfect situation. But we still have to figure out the Sam Darnold situation. And I think Cam deserves a fair shot. And again, he's not the same guy at all. We understand that, but he still is a very good quarterback. And keep this in mind too with Cam. He hasn't had a full offseason in the past couple of years, right? He hasn't been with the team to be at a full training camp, to be there in the full offseason, to kind of cement his position. So if you get him there in the beginning, where he can develop those relationships, develop that chemistry, and a full offseason, things may turn out to be better. But he hasn't had that in the past couple of seasons with Carolina and with New England. So you got to take that into account as well.
All right, one more question. Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. The biggest story of the week, hands down, no doubt about it, is a story coming out of the NFL owners' meetings that your boy Matt Rule, after the meetings concluded, there was a party afterwards, and Matt Rule, the dancing queen, was tearing up the dance floor and putting other folks to shame. Rashad, how good is it to know that you might have the 32nd best coach in the NFL, but you got Dancing King #1 cutting rugs for the silver and blue?
Hey, at least we get a W somewhere, right? They're not coming on the field, but at least we got the best dancing coach in the league. And again, I heard about it, but unless there's video to prove it, I don't believe it to be true. There was a video of him doing the Cupid Shuffle. Somebody tweeted that out back when he was at Temple. So there was that video that went out there.
Grade that for me.
Man, I'm a little bit tough on the Cupid Shuffle. I got to give him a solid D+. He gets a solid D+ on the. Yeah, there was no.
Don't look at me. I don't know what the Cupid Shuffle is.
No. I'm looking because here's the thing. As the stereotypical white guy here, Rashad. If you can't Cupid Shuffle, which is count to 4 and then count to 4 again, I don't believe that you are tearing up a dance floor freestyle. I don't believe it.
Exactly. That's why I don't believe it. The Cupid Shuffle, if I'm judging based off of what I saw from the Cupid Shuffle, I have very low expectations from him killing the dance floor. But it is what it is, man. Listen, I hope it's true. And again, that was a couple years ago. That was maybe at Temple. That was a while back. So hopefully by now he's gotten an opportunity to improve on his dancing skills. But I don't believe it. I have to check it out.
I love it. Rashad Beard is the host of the Panther Nation podcast. Find them on Twitter at Panther Nation PC, and make sure you follow and subscribe to their YouTube channel. It is incredible content if you're a Panthers fan. Rashad, my guy, appreciate you, big dog. We'll do it again next week, pal.
Let's do it.
There you go. That is Rashad Beard. Again, follow them on Twitter at Panther Nation PC, and you can subscribe to their YouTube channel, and you definitely should. We're back after this right here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Appreciate you, big dog.
Yep. Anytime, man. Anytime.
You know it. We'll get you back next week. We'll do it all over again, pal.
Sounds good. I'll holler at you guys.
All right, buddy. Later on. Yeah, Tayshaun the Gritty is the new dance. I will tell you that I may or may not have practiced the Gritty a few times. it is not as natural of a dance as you would think that. It looks easy to do. It is not as easy to do as it looks.
Well, why don't you show us right now?
No. I'll show you when I get it. I'll get it. There will be a point that I get it, and it will become the Rob Brown celebration dance for a minute. The problem is that by the time that I get it, the gritty will no longer be cool, right? It will be the equivalent of doing the old Atlanta Falcons Dirty Bird, you know? Everybody figured it out, and when they did, the Falcons were like, yeah, we don't do that anymore. I wish I'd have saw this when he was on. I think Shad has the best teeth in sports broadcasting. He might not be wrong. Rashad's got. I can tell.
I think it's lighting. I do. I think it helps. By the way,
I'm gonna say straight up, with no shame, Rashad Beard's a good-looking guy. He's a good-looking guy.
He has an awesome smile.
He is a good-looking guy.
That's
no shame.
You know, when someone smiles like that, it just makes you want to smile too.
You like once a week, I get a tweet or text from someone that's like, Rashad Beard is a handsome young man. He is a good-looking cat. Keegan, in regards to our karaoke conversation, said, I have seen Rob participate in bandioke. So, yes, but what is bandioke, Keegan? Is it karaoke? No, it's bandioke. It's a different thing. That's like somebody saying, I don't like golf and going, well, I saw them play putt-putt. Well, yeah, it's a different thing that is better and more fun to do. Somebody needs to help Matt Rule dress. What, you saying you're not a smock guy? You're not a fan of your head coach having a matching outfit with your dental hygienist?
Listen, as we had a conversation last night, he, QT Marshall, and Kevin James would have an awesome bowling team. They would.
Sir, it's QT Marshall.
Oh, my bad.
He may be listening.
He could be. You never know. He should be because we're everywhere.
By the way, Joe said this about QT Marshall, and he's spot on. QT Marshall is not a guy that I would ever watch, like I would ever buy a ticket if he was the highlight guy. But I will watch every QT Marshall match that I get my hands on. The guy's wildly entertaining as a reacting guy, not a wrestler.
And he teaches a lot of those guys that are out there, and I'm sure he's putting on a clinic and then goes back the next day when he's like, okay, see how I did this, see how I did this. And it's not stiff, man. It's very fluid and it's very good. I agree.
Yeah.
And he's in better shape than what you think with how he's how he's
I always
built.
thought he was a husky boy because of the way he dresses.
But
he's in shape.
Yeah, that kind of shocked me. It's perception of build. That's the problem.
Yeah. Did this?
You're trying to decide if you.
No, I'm trying to remember if the surprise appearance last night happened at Dynamite or Rampage. It was Dynamite, right?
Yes, it was Dynamite. Yes.
Toni Storm looks phenomenal. She looked great last night. And I don't mean like in a gross dude way. I mean, as a wrestler, she looked good.
In a gross dude kind of way. Like the guys down from us, how they were talking. Yes.
Oh, yeah. What?
just some insight about how I think the Rashad comment will absolutely be a promo, and Dancing Queen music will be behind it.
Did we have a promo with that in it already once?
No, not Dancing Queen. No.
Okay.
I would know if I used ABBA. And if I'm wrong, I'm old. So, there's that.
Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show goes now right here on the Fan Upstate. Hello, Upstate South Carolina. How do you do, America? What's up, world? Great to be back with you again. I am the aforementioned Rob Brown. Directly across from me on the other side of the glass, Colonel Grudge, hashtag Dad Kicks, the Sultan of Swag, the Professor of Perfection, the Alpha and the Omega of the Fan Upstate. The great one, Lonzo, is here and, for the time being, awake.
All right, so I'm losing something that's bothering me.
Consciousness.
Well, that too. Although, if you lose consciousness, does it really bother you? Because you don't know, because you're unconscious.
As somebody with 50% of his front teeth being false, I don't remember it at all.
Okay, so we had a conversation on the way back last night from AEW about keeping track of yawns. And
I feel like we're doing okay.
you are. Right now, it's 2-0 me. So, and I felt reluctant to mention it because if I put it out there, will it cause Rob to yawn now? Because it's kind of like when you see someone yawn, then you yawn. It's, we'll see. Now will Rob start yawning? And am I devious enough to mention this just so I can win?
See, but now I honestly have not thought about it during the show, right? I will tell you, I was a mess. I got here at 7. I was a mess between 7 and 8:45. I don't do this often. 8:45, Lonzo, while you were running around like a chicken with your head cut off trying to get everything ready, I got up and just walked 4 circles around the upstairs circuit to try to get my life together.
Hey, man, there's nothing wrong with getting some cardio in when you got a shot at it.
Ugh.
At least you weren't waylaid by the dark side while you were doing your walk.
Oh, you get to that part in the hall. There's 3 offices in a row that if you hear your name come out of the front door of any of them, it's going one of 2 directions that day. And when you get to that point, all of a sudden, Rob Brown kicks into stealth mode. Not after the show. I go talk to the bosses after the show every day, but before the show. All right. So, last night, as Zoe and I are sitting in the Colonial Life Arena in Columbia, South Carolina.
Very nice arena.
Very nice
First
arena.
time that we were there, and yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. First time I got in there, very nice arena is Colonial Life. I was impressed. Got a good look. Got a great lay. As arenas go, it looked like a slightly smaller NBA arena. It was laid out beautifully. Graphics everywhere in that gym. I thought it was kind of rad, though, that we walk in and the first thing we see are Final Four national championship trophies presented really nice to the crowd coming in. It was a great arena. So Zoe and I are sitting there watching AEW when my phone vibrates. Bzz. I've got my phone is set up to where if I get a text, it's like a long vibration to let me know.
Yeah, he ignores those.
Yes, correct. Irrelevant. Short buzz means I got an app notification. Yeah. And I've got all my app notifications turned off with the exception of breaking sports news. All right. Let me check what this is. And I get the notification from CBS Sports that around 7:45 on a Wednesday night, Bruce Arians decided, yo, I'm out. Good run, everybody. Good work. You got this from here, right? Cool. Later. And has decided to step down as the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and move to a front office role. And I was like, man, that's interesting. That's interesting. Why now, right? Like, you'd have thought if Bruce was going to step away, Bruce would have stepped away when Brady walked away, right? Or that if he was going to step away, he'd have stepped away right after the season came to its conclusion. But he decides to do it at 7:30 on a Wednesday evening, rudely interrupting my night of wrestling show. So I go look at it, nothing popping up. Get home last night, start scrolling through to see what I missed overnight news, and come across some quotes from Bruce Arians. And I got to tell you, a little bit of respect for the reason that Bruce Arians gave for stepping down. Bruce said, hey, look, I considered retiring after the Super Bowl and riding off into the sunset on a high note, right? Walking with a dub. But he said Brady's back. And if Brady's back for a second year, we got a chance to go back-to-back. The only thing better than walking on a Lombardi is walking with 2 Lombardis. So I'll make another run. And he did. Didn't go quite that way, but the Bucs were good last year. Then he said, I thought about it after the year, but then Tommy Boy called it quits, and I didn't want to walk. And he said the reason he didn't want to walk, Lonzo, was because he knew if he walked at that moment, with Brady gone, with potentially Fournette gone, although he is resigned, with potentially Gronk gone, with all these guys gone, he said, if I walked, my entire coaching staff's going to get fired. And I don't want to do that to them. So I decided I'll work one more year and give everybody enough time to know that this is my swan song, so that everybody on my staff has time to get the resumes in order and start looking for a new job if they're not going to stick with Tampa Bay after me and Tommy Boy are gone. So he didn't quit so that his coaching staff he built would not get fired, according to Bruce Arians. Then, when Brady came back, said, I got one more in me. Bruce said, I knew the team was together. I knew the coaching staff was together. I know by holding out a couple of weeks after Brady to get all of the systems in place that me walking would not get my coaches fired. They would stick around because the team's already built, yeah? Team's built, Brady's back, he's got the offense built that he wants, etc., etc. So if I walk now and I move up to the front office to do what I love to do, be a football administrator, my guys keep their job, the team doesn't break up, they get one more run with Brady, and Todd Bowles just slides into the head coaching job, which he did. Last night, signed a 5-year contract to become the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, the immediate question became, and I think it's a fair one, there were rumors going around that something's going down, that Brucey Baby and Tommy B maybe had a bit of a falling out.
This is funny because I haven't heard any rumors, but my first thought was that.
Yep.
And when you said that, I think of terms of LeBron, how he always gets a rap of getting coaches fired.
Yeah.
Did Tom Brady do the same thing? Because we know that Arians called him out a bunch during the season and blamed him for things that were his fault, which you are not supposed to do to your star player, especially your star quarterback, especially the supposed GOAT.
Yeah, you weren't the only one that had that thought. A lot of people going, was this a Bruce and Brady breakup, right? Well, Arians came out flat out denied that. He said, no, it had nothing to do with our relationship. We have a professional relationship, nothing to do with our relationship. It is 100% because I knew if I walked away while Brady was gone or before he had definitively decided to come back, because remember, before the retirement, a month and a half ago, whatever it was, before Brady's retirement, it wasn't so much, is Brady going to play next year? Is he retiring or not? Right? There was no certainty to that.
Well, I mean, the thing was, it was out there that he didn't get along with Arians and that he was going to go to San Francisco. I mean, that was the big rumor.
Yeah, there were guys on Twitter like last week saying Tom Brady's trying to force a deal to Miami, which, LOL, okay.
I mean, we can put things out there too and say we have sources, and my source might be you and your source might be me. I mean, we can do that. But it seemed feasible that Tom Brady would pick San Francisco and go there, another place where he could just go and it's already a pretty good team and win.
So, yeah, I called out the dude on Twitter that was like, I have it on good authority. Tom Brady's going to Miami. I was like, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. You're making this up.
Do you consider yourself a good authority?
No.
So if I have it on good authority, it's me saying,
no.
I am the authority.
Some people do.
And yeah.
Some people do. I'm not one.
By the way, I'm not either.
No, neither one of us are authorities except when we are. Right? We were an authority on Paul White and Captain Insano and Paul White wrestling a match last night, which, by the way, he did.
He absolutely did.
We were an authority on that because we talked to Paul White and interviewed him and got it on the dirt sheets. So we were an authority for that. But on Brady to the Bucks, Brady to the Dolphins, no, we weren't authorities. We were speculating like everybody else. And this clown made it up and got himself 1,000 Twitter followers out of it. Whatever. That's not the point.
You know, I think it comes down to you kind of want to believe some things, whether they're real or not. I absolutely want to believe that this is all Tom Brady's doing. It probably isn't, but I don't hide my disdain for Tom Brady. So right away, even though I am a very positive person, I'm very positive that this is all Tom Brady's fault.
As the great American philosopher Taylor Swift once said, and the haters gonna hate.
Why you put that? I mean, I hardly know any Taylor Swift songs, and you put that one in my head.
Lonzo, just shake it off. Shake it off.
I knew that was coming. That was the other one that I know.
That's the same one.
Is it?
Yeah, same song.
Oh, I feel good.
Feel better. You only know one still.
Yeah, I do, and I didn't know that it was the same song.
So Brucey Baby says, I'm not bailing now because of anything with Brady. I'm not bailing now because of anything in the club. I'm bailing now because had I bailed earlier, all my guys would have been fired and had to find new jobs on very little notice. And after most coaching positions have already been filled, that's why I waited till now. Todd Bowles gets a 5-year contract. Tom Brady gets a new head coach on the way in. But what's interesting about this for me is Brady decides to come back. Hey, my spot's on the field, right? Not in the stands. Basically, I don't want to be bored, so I'm going to play football one more year. And now his head coach is a defensive coordinator. Not the QB whisperer, not the architect of the offense, Bruce Arians. His head coach is now a defensive coordinator.
Who will go, you know what, I do defense. I'm deferring to you, Tom. You go ahead. You make the decisions. You've been around long enough. I will say that if Arians did what he's saying he's doing, it's commendable in the fact that no matter who the coach is, he's not leaving them with a bare cupboard, because whoever takes over this team without Tom Brady would have looked like a bad coach.
Sure. After
a couple of years, when you don't have anyone at the helm throwing the ball, then you're going to look bad. And especially in the case of Todd Bowles, where he's getting another chance to be head coach again. This time, he's going to be head coach of a pretty good team. So that's going to look good on him. It's going to look good on everybody. I still hope they don't win a whole lot as long as Tom Brady's the quarterback. But, again, that's just me.
Yeah. Like you said, cupboard's not bare. They got a squad. I respect Bruce Arians. If this is true, I respect that out of Bruce Arians. He protected his guys, rode out on a relative high But also, look, the Buccaneers are probably going to be second, maybe third odds-on favorite to win the NFC next year. I think LA's ahead of them. Depending on what the quarterback situation looks like, San Francisco might be. I don't know if Green Bay is anymore without Devontae Adams, but maybe. But he rides out on a relative high, lets his coaching staff have a definite job for one more year and put that resume together. Or Todd Bowles goes, I'm just going to keep everybody. I like it. Hey, check this out. Look at this text we just got on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. We will read them on the air. Texter says, Rob, cool. If you Google Captain Insano, the first top 3 articles all link to your show. Love to hear that. One of the most beloved fictional wrestlers in movie history. If you Google I'm going to do it. I'm going to Google, not myself, Captain Insano. Let's see.
It popped up on my phone on our long trip home last night, too. But do we believe it? Do we believe that this is going to happen? I will not comment until 11:35.
Deal. Good enough for me. Oh, yeah. This is great. Would you look at that? Turns out we're big. We're huge on the wrestling circuit, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, but that's just so far. We've only just begun.
Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, I got a few stories to get to, including I feel bad for springing this on Lonzo. Last minute, while he's exhausted with no further knowledge. But there is a chance that the Kansas City Chiefs will no longer include the word city in their name for a reason. Tell you what that is when we come back. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. This is the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. Guys, I said the funniest thing when we were muted, but I can't repeat it because it won't work.
Not as funny as thank you muted Rob, which is pretty funny.
I am a professional. The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Just got sent this story a second ago by an old radio colleague of mine. Found this really funny. So, down near Tampa, Florida, where the Tampa Bay Rays play, there is a Ted Williams Museum and Hitters Hall of Fame. It's at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, which is across the bridge from Tampa. That's where the Rays play. They don't actually play in Tampa, but who cares? Anyway, there is a Ted Williams Museum and Hitters Hall of Fame dedicated to the big sluggers in Major League Baseball history. Well, because Tropicana Field is the worst stadium in America, and the Juice Box, as it is unaffectionately called down in the Sunshine State, is likely going to be replaced in the next 5 to 7 years with a better stadium for the Rays, the Ted Williams Museum and Hitters Hall of Fame has been downsizing in recent years. They have been selling off memorabilia, donating memorabilia to other museums, et cetera, in preparation for their closing in the next half a decade or so. Well, David McCarthy is the executive director of the Ted Williams Museum and Hitters Hall of Fame in St. Pete at Tropicana Field. And McCarthy recently gifted a life-size statue of Hall of Famer Ty Cobb to Lakeland's Publix Field at Joker Marchant Stadium. That is where the Detroit Tigers play their spring baseball. Ty Cobb, of course, was a Detroit Tiger for a period of time in his career. And because he was a Detroit Tiger, they said it only made sense to give this Ty Cobb statue to where the Tigers play their spring ball down in the Sunshine State. So, the statue, which used to be in a Tampa-based pharmaceutical manufacturing company's break room, because reasons, I guess, made its way to the Hitters Hall of Fame before being gifted to Publix Field in St. Pete to stand outside where the Tigers play their spring ball. Except for people looked at this statue and said, this thing's a little off. So the Athletic did some digging into this. And the Athletic found that the sculptor of the Ty Cobb statue is credited as Jim Davidson. So they did some digging on Jim Davidson. And it turns out that Jim Davidson, the sculptor, is a name that is linked to a factory in Thailand that produces knockoff statues to sell for cheap, right? You know how, like, when you go to New York City and you go wandering down where the street vendors are, and they'll sell you a definitely real Louis Vuitton bag or a definitely real pair of Ray-Bans. But the Ray-Bans are spelled R-E-Y-B-A-N-Z, Ray-Bans.
Doesn't make them any less real.
I mean, they are Ray-Bans, Ray-Bens. Yeah, no less real in that they exist. But they are definitely knockoff Ray-Bans, yeah? That's what this Thai company does with statues. So now, standing outside of Publix Field where the Detroit Tigers are currently playing their spring baseball, is a knockoff statue of not Ty Cobb, which was described as by one baseball historian as, quote, "It's not him, It's a freaking knockoff, end quote.
So does it just not look like him? I mean,
According to the baseball historians in question, it does not look like Ty Cobb. It is not dressed in the uniform that Ty Cobb would have worn when he was a Detroit Tiger. And it is not Ty Cobb. This story is not important to anyone in any way, shape, or form, but it is hilarious to me.
I want to know who it is now, though, don't you? I mean, they just picked some random dude and just said, hey, look, it's Ty Cobb.
According to the story that I have read, this place just kind of makes statues of generic dudes and then goes, oh, yeah, that's Ty Cobb.
I wonder how expensive it is.
Well, they don't know because the
okay.
history of the statue is kind of a big question mark, right? Like it was in the break room of a Tampa-based pharmaceutical manufacturing company for no good reason at all. Then it was just gifted to this Sluggers Hall of Fame in return for a charitable donation to the company's charity, I guess. Apparently, the museum did not look into the statue. They just looked at it and went, oh, that'd be cool. We'll buy that for a charitable contribution.
Yeah, I mean, someone's offering. Do you automatically go, do you have proof that this is an authentic statue?
If you are a Hall of Fame and museum, yes. If you are going to put the likeness of Ty Cobb up in your museum, you want to make sure it's Ty Cobb.
So how do you vet that? Do you first of all get a picture of Ty Cobb and look at the statue?
That's a great first step. Step one in identifying if a statue is of the dude is to look at the dude, right? Now, I have not found a close-up picture of the face of the statue yet, because the Athletic article about this is behind a paywall, so I can only read like the first 2.5 paragraphs where they say the history of the statue is in question and the sculptor Jim Davidson is a name, quote, linked to knockoffs made in a tie factory, end quote. And then I've looked at some other articles to get some context clues. But basically it comes down to, it doesn't look like Ty Cobb. It doesn't wear a uniform similar to the one that Ty Cobb would have worn when he played for Detroit. It's not Ty Cobb. It's just generic 1930s baseball player, build a character, body shape C.
So this is like on the internet when you see someone say, I'm gonna tell my kids this was.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of that. I'm gonna tell my kids this was Ty Cobb.
Yeah. It's the baseball statue version of a real life meme. The best part is that Publix Field down in Lakeland, I assume, and I could be wrong here, I don't like making assumptions, but sometimes you have to. I assume that the Detroit Tigers would have had to sign off on this, right? Like, yeah, you guys can put up a statue of Ty Cobb outside our building. Which means that at some point, the Detroit Tigers went, yeah, good enough for us. That'll work just fine. We'll go with it. Again, this story is important to exactly and precisely 0 people that are listening to this, but damn if it's not funny.
There's some 19-year-old kid working in the office going, bro, looks like Ty Cobb to me. Thanks.
Oh, it's so good, man. It's so good. The Detroit Tigers were like, oh, yeah, Ty Cobb, he was kind of an important part of our history. So, yeah, go ahead and put it up. Oh, whoops. That'd be like if somebody was like, we're gonna get some billboards of the Rob Brown show, and then they put Will Wheaton's face on it. It's like, close enough, I guess.
Well, in statue form, it would be pretty close. Was there like a 75-year-old guy who just happened to walk by and go, Ty Cobb?
That's not Ty Cobb.
I knew Ty Cobb. That's not Ty
And
Cobb.
that's no Ty Cobb.
Yes. I mean, because who recognized it first? Who went, hey, guys, I'm not sure that's, yeah.
Ty Cobb played baseball. Let's see here. He played baseball from 1910-ish to 1921. So if you saw Ty Cobb play, you're in the ballpark of a century years of age now, right? Like maybe some guys in their 90s saw him play as a kid. I don't know who it was that did this, but I am now looking at some pictures of Ty Cobb. That ain't Ty Cobb. It's just random generic MLB The Show 1920s create a character body type C with no logo on the uniform, by the way.
Is this younger Ty Cobb or older Ty Cobb? So are you comparing
It's like
pictures from
mid-career
the...
Ty Cobb.
Okay, all right. So
It looks like mid-career Ty Cobb.
sometimes people go through changes, Rob, and they don't look like they used to look like.
I mean, I'm aware. All right, I'm aware. I am getting better looking with age.
Yeah, I'm looking at all this pepper, and the beard wasn't there like 5 years ago.
But again, if you put up a statue of Cameron Fry from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, it's like close to Rob, but not Rob. Love this story. Don't know why. Don't know why I love this story as much as I do, but I do. Texter says they had cameras in 1910. They had cameras during the Civil War, dude.
Yeah, you haven't seen any old films where they had the bulb would
Yeah.
basically explode and you couldn't use it again afterwards. And the guy had to stick his head inside of the
Like under a sheet.
yeah, like a veil thing in order to
Yeah.
take the picture. I guess maybe that's for focusing, but it may also be to protect him from the exploding flash. I don't know.
The first cameras were literally a pinhole that you uncovered, and you had to sit still for like 10 minutes while the light came through to create the exposure.
Yeah, we had to do that in school, like back in like 6th grade or something like that.
Yeah.
Which was really,
Make a
really
pinhole
cool.
camera,
yeah.
That's what the first cameras were. That's why if you go look at like Old West photos, right? From back in the mid 1800s, the Old West photos, and right after the Civil War photos, you'll notice that in a lot of those pictures, they'll have like a family. Here's random trivia for the day before I take a break. You'll see pictures of a family, and like 3 of the 4 family members are just a little blurry. It's because they couldn't remain perfectly still because they're human beings. And there's one person that is perfectly in focus. You know why that is? Because that person was dead. They used to do post-mortem photos because photos were expensive and they weren't easy to make. So they would only take photos when somebody died as a memory for the family. So the 3 blurry people were people that were alive and just staying as still as they can. And then there was the one dead baby or kid or woman in the picture that was perfectly still because that would be the only way that the family would have an image of their lost loved one to carry on with them.
I was going to say the pine box is a dead giveaway, but you know.
No, they would dress them up and like prop them up in a chair.
Yeah, I've seen some of that. Those are creepy, by the way.
Yeah, they're weird.
They're extremely creepy.
But yeah, they had cameras back in the day. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back here in just a minute, the Lady Gamecocks are set up to play tomorrow in the Women's NCAA Final Four matchup. They take on the Louisville Cardinal. We're going to break that game down just a little bit. Tomorrow on the show, we'll have not 1 but 2 interviews about that. We'll be joined by Corey Diaz, who will break it down from the South Carolina game side. And we'll have Mark Ennis from 93.9 in Louisville to break it down from the Louisville side. I'll give you my initial thoughts on that next. Plus, the Lady Gamecocks picked up 2 pieces of hardware yesterday before they line up for the Final Four. I'll tell you what that was when we come back. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. This is the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate.
So, Travis, let me tell you, it didn't look stiff in person. It looked
It
painful.
looked like a fight.
Yeah, it did. Especially
Andrade slapped Darby Allin so hard at one point that everybody in our row backed away from the ring. I mean, he slapped the teeth.
and it was a progression of slaps. It's like, man, that was the hardest one. There's no way. Whoa. Yeah.
Let me put it this way. If you weren't convinced the Will Smith slap was fake, the Andrade slap on Darby made you realize it was. He popped the crap out of him.
It shouldn't have been as enjoyable as it was, but.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I felt bad for how entertained I was by that. Lonzo said the drive over and back was worth it just for that minute and a half between Darby and Andrade Aaliyah.
I honestly thought, there are times when wrestling happens and you're like, okay, yeah. It looked like they really were like, oh, yeah? I think they really got mad at each other, which made it amazing. Oh, they beat each other up bad, and we were fairly close. Our seats were really good, and it's just like, man. Come on. Sorry, I'm not talking so much, but I'm waiting for something to finish recording so I can quickly edit it. And I'm watching time tick away and not sure I'm going to be able to do it in time.
That y'all may have talked about it while I was out, but that Daniel Bryanson match was phenomenal.
That's great. The last comment from Travis.
Oh yeah. He said his son said every time I said it at the end of the show, his son would go, "Later, brother," which is great. No, Steven, because again.
Yeah, it's on the list for today. Yeah.
That's today. I 100% will watch it tonight. They dropped 6 episodes, right?
Did they? I don't know.
They dropped all 6.
I don't know.
Let me see.
I'm at least going to watch one episode because I got other stuff that I got to
If
catch
it's
up
as good
on.
as I hope that it is, it'll be. I might end up binging it.
All right, so you went to break a little bit earlier than what you normally do. This thing will not stop recording till I think 43.
Okay.
which will give me 30 seconds to try to find it. I'm just trying to let you know about the window that they're giving me.
Yeah.
The longer the record time, I have to wait till it stops recording before I can try to edit it. Which technically, while we're in that last break, I might be able to do it, but I doubt it. And you know what? It's still not done yet, so I won't have 30 seconds. It's not your fault. It's CBS's fault for the way their breaks flow.
Oh, no, they only dropped one episode.
Good. Take that temptation away.
Right? We are introducing the gods of Egypt, which sets up a Norse gods v. Egyptian gods battle, and I'm here for it. The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob. The great one, Lonzo, on the other side of the glass, working diligently. I blew up Lonzo. I got off the clock by going early for the first time ever. But he's the great one for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. All right. A lot of stuff to get to. The Gamecocks of South Carolina, Dawn Staley's gals playing in their Final Four tomorrow, which, by the way, in case you have missed it somehow, you can listen to right here on the Fan Upstate. Your exclusive home for coverage of both the men's and women's Final Four is right here on the Fan Upstate. So make sure you got your radio tuned in during the men's and women's Final Four and don't miss a moment of the action. So the Lady Gamecocks set to go tomorrow to take on Louisville. Tomorrow on the show, we'll break down that game from both angles. Corey Diaz of the Greenville News will join us on the show to break it down from the South Carolina side. Mark Ennis of 93.9 The Ville in Louisville will join us on the show to break it down from the Louisville side, of the bracket. And looking forward to having those two guys on tomorrow to talk about it. Anyway, before the Lady Gamecocks, look for national championship hardware with 2 more wins separating them from some pieces of net. They picked up a little bit of hardware yesterday. Aaliyah Boston named the Naismith Player of the Year award yesterday, rewarding a season in which she helped the Lady Gamecocks enter the Final Four with a overall 33-2 record. Boston is putting up 16.8 points, 12.2 boards, 1.9 dishes, and 2.5 blocks a game to go with 1.4 takeaways and a shooting percentage of over 54% on the year. But she was not done, because Aaliyah Boston also brought home the Naismith Defensive Player of the Year award. It goes alongside her unanimous All-American honors, her SEC Player of the Year award, at the same time that Aaliyah Boston was picking up her hardware to add to the trophy shelf. Dawn Staley did the same, earning the Naismith Coach of the Year award last night, as those two, along with their teammates and players, get lined up to take on Louisville tomorrow. And why wouldn't they, right? Aaliyah Boston has been an absolute stud this year for the Lady Gamecocks. She has been a beast. We talked about earlier in the year, preseason into the first couple weeks, we knew South Carolina was going to be a force this year, right? There was no shock. The Lady Gamecocks under Dawn Staley were going to be an absolute force to be reckoned with, and they have been, which they should have been. That roster is built to do it. But Aaliyah Boston is just on a different level. She has been, I told you earlier in the week, I genuinely believe that if you have not been watching If you have not been watching the women's NCAA March Madness tournament, you have deprived yourself of some excellent basketball, right? And I know there's the knocks. Oh, Rob, it's boring. It's slower. It's like the competition is great. I stayed up past my bedtime the other night to watch Louisville beat Michigan in the Elite Eight. I don't have a dog in that fight. I did not have a team that I was per se rooting for in that game. Edge of the seat down the stretch. Michigan had a lead. Louisville take it back. Steals and turnovers. Offensive rebounds and second chances. I mean, it was great. But Aaliyah Boston has set the standard for everybody. Aaliyah Boston has set the standard for everybody. She's been a monster. And it's been great to watch. And that's not to say that there haven't been other players on that team that have stepped up in big spots, because there certainly have been. Destiny Henderson as a three-point shooter in big spots has been clutch. Zaya Cook, same story. Talk about a hustle monster. Love to see it. But Aaliyah Boston is clearly the best player in college basketball right now. The most dominant player in college basketball. And as far as relative to competition goes, I think Aaliyah Boston has been the most dominant player overall. I'm including the men's side in that. There have been some really good talent on the men's side that have stepped up this year. But Aaliyah Boston was a no-brainer for the Naismith Player of the Year award, right? There is not a no-brainer on the men's side. There are a handful of guys that could walk with that trophy, and none of us would be shocked.
When the other team has to triple team you,
Every possession.
And it still doesn't stop you, that shows how much dominance you have. I watched the first half of the last game. That's all I really needed to watch was the first half. With the domination, they were trying so hard. When you got three people on you, and they just could not stop her. And that's an amazing thing to be able to do.
You don't have a choice, right? There's not been a player they have lined up against regular season, conference tournament, despite the loss in the final round, which, by the way, I told you why I thought that happened. I thought there was a bit of both fatigue and ring rust, right? Like they got to sit out the first couple of rounds, but down the stretch, South Carolina was taking everybody's best shot. I mean, they were in some physical games because everybody wanted to be the team that knocked the Queens off the throne, right? And I think the other thing was this team, after what happened last year, this team has one acceptable outcome to the season, right? It's a ring. They have one, any other outcome for this team. Making it to the Final Four is not good enough for this team. That's how good they are. Making it to the championship game is not good enough for this team. That's how good they are. But what happens is when you are the queens of the castle, everybody brings the full army at you. You get everybody's most physical and best shot. And I don't care how good you are, it's going to wear on you. I think the mentality was national championship or bust, right? And if you are a team that is a contender but not a standalone contender, conference championships, like, yeah, let's go get it, right? Let's go get it. If you are a middle of the pack contender, if you are Illinois, going to win a conference championship, especially when your conference is good, like the SEC is on the women's side of things, it means something. But when you are the stand-alone favorite, when you are the stand-alone number one consensus overall, nothing is good enough except for cutting down the last net of the season. And I think that mentality came through, which is why they were just a touch off their game in the SEC final. They have not been off their game in this one. What did they allow in the opening round of the game? I think they gave of the tournament. I think they gave up 4 points in the first half. Was that right? I think 4 points they gave up.
You know, you talked about championship or bust. Just think when they lost in the SEC tournament. It was the SEC tournament when they lost, I believe. And there was a lot of shock about that. It's good that that happened. And I know a lot of people say a loss is never good, but I think that was an eye-opener for them, that they can see how easily, even though they are a team of destiny that should win the whole thing, how they could be beaten. And I think it was good that they lost when they lost, where they lost. So now they won't come in thinking, oh, we got this, and know that they have to fight every minute.
You got to be at your best. They went up against Howard in round one. You worried how they were going to rebound, right? They lose in the SEC championship game. They don't cut down the net. Is it the beginning of a letdown? They played the Howard Bison in the opening round, which is clearly a game they ought to win with their backups, right? Lonzo, at the end of the first quarter, it was 22-2. At the end of the first half, it was 44-4. Right? Like a high school team ought to be able to do better than 4 points against a college team.
But don't downplay Howard. I mean, this is just how good South Carolina can be.
No, they were 21-10.
Yeah.
They weren't bad. They made first off, they made the dance. Granted, they made it as a lower conference champion, but they were 21-10, 11-3 in the MEAC. They put up 4 points in the half. Oh, and in the third quarter, Lonzo, they doubled their score to 8. South Carolina came to win this tournament, and they're showing it with the hardware and the performance. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. That's on me. Should have been.
No. Lack of sleep got me there. I wasn't paying attention. All right, preview already. Why are you not playing?
Whatever we had going on. Let's talk a little soccer. You bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance.
That's not how that's supposed to work. Boom. I do it. Might not be a perfect edit, but, you know. Whatever. See, Travis has me curious now because now I want to go home and watch the recording of AEW and see if it seems stiff on TV, because then it has to do with camera angles and how it's presented and not how it actually was.
Oh, I mean, look, Travis, you said Andrade Allen was stiffer than Danielson Yuta. Danielson Yuta was not a easy match to watch either.
See, I thought that
Some
was,
of those chops they were at each other were vicious.
but it was a clinic, and you know what they're trying to do. They're trying to showcase how good Wheeler Yuta can be. Yep. And when he first came out with the Best Friends, never thought he could do what he's doing now.
Oh,
so
he went too.
when they started mentioning the guys when Bryan Danielson was mentioning the guys who he'd love to see, step up and be a part of something with he and Moxley, I'm like, yeah, I don't see that. All right, so there's some extra music on the end I could have gotten rid of, but at least it wasn't talking. It's the first time I've actually heard the end of one because it's been cut off every single time. You saw the email yesterday about something that's not being cryptic here getting done like it should be.
Yeah.
I will offer again. Especially today.
And here we go. The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is the fan upstate. You know what?
It's not bad though.
I didn't do it yesterday.
It's not bad.
I did it once Tuesday. That's like 0.25 times today. After 2 years, I feel like that's a pretty solid effort.
You probably could have played it off with the man, that hurt.
Yeah.
Pulled
a hammy on that one.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are the best damn sports talk station in all the nation. This is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown, the great one Lonzo on the other side of the glass, rocking the new AEW gear picked up last night. We're going to talk about that in the next segment when we go to Fight Club, your home for all things combat sports here in the Upstate. We attended the All Elite Wrestling show in Columbia last night. We'll have that breakdown for you coming up in a little while. A few more things that I wanted to get to. I had been to Las Vegas one time. I was there for 5 days back in like 2012. Roy Jones Jr., who I used to work for, had a rubber match with a guy whose name I'm blanking on right now.
That dude who lost?
No, he won. He
Oh.
cheated though.
Okay.
Dang it. I'm just blanking on who it was now. Anyway, Bernard Hopkins. Duh. There it is. The old brain is in first gear today. All right.
So it's saturated with Monster to the point now you're having trouble.
Oh yeah, it's just floating in caffeine at this point. Bernard Hopkins. So I worked for Roy. I went out there to effectively be Roy's press guy for that fight. I had never been to Vegas. I was 26 years old. Your boy had a really good time, right? Put me up in the presidential suite. Well, the presidential suites up on the top of the Mandalay Bay. Had an open window that looked down over the strip. Had a great time. And if you have never been to Vegas, even if you're not into debauchery, it's still worth a go.
So I am not into debauchery, but it depends on what you consider debauchery too.
Also true.
Yeah. I probably would recognize it when I saw it. I would love to go to Vegas, but it requires flying, and I'm not willing to drive that far.
Listen, I'm not telling you what you should do. Just ambient yourself for a plane ride because it's worth it.
Yeah, it's never happening. So, but who doesn't want to go cross country someday? When I reach retirement age and feel the need to buy a Winnebago.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that. RVs are great. So, yeah, like 25, 26-year-old Rob Brown went to Vegas. I had been in the radio game for 2 years at that point. And Roy's manager, who listened to my show, calls me. He's like, hey, Roy needs a PR dude. Are you interested? I said, yeah, took the job. So I go to Vegas. They put me up. And I'm telling you this because I can tell you the site, like the physical site of the Las Vegas Strip from about 40 floors up looking down it is amazing. It's incredible, right? The lights, the people.
Does it look like it does on Con Air?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
Got the whole world in his hands. Oh, Buscemi, you're the best. Anyway, so the site of the Las Vegas Strip is it's something everybody should see, right? It is a testament to what people can accomplish in the name of entertaining ourselves, right? Like, to me, reusable rockets are a testament to what people can do when we stop being jackasses to each other and do cool stuff. The Las Vegas Strip is a testament to what we can accomplish when we are bored and want to entertain ourselves. It's incredible. And it was announced last night that the Las Vegas Strip for one night a year is about to go to a new level because Formula One Racing announced last night that there are now 3 races that are going to take place in the great United States. 2 of them have been going on for a while, Austin, Texas, and Miami, Florida. And the thing about F1 racing that's very cool is that F1 races take place on streets, right? Just city streets. They just race through the middle of downtowns and whatnot. It's kind of rad in certain spots. Well, they announced that the 3rd race will be held in Las Vegas, Nevada. And, Lonzo, the track that they will run this race on, one of the, there are, I believe, 4 long straightaways and then 1, 2, 3, 4, like 7 turns. One of the long straightaways that will be a part of this Formula One race, though, is right down the Las Vegas Strip. Dead center of the Vegas Strip. Past the Bellagio, past Paris, past the Mandalay Bay. They announced that last night. And I got to tell you, for the first time in a very long time, your boy's like, I got to go back to Vegas. I went when I was 25, 26. I had an amazing time. I had a blast. I got stories for days out of Vegas. But I've never been like, I feel like I have to go back, right? Because I was there for 5 days. I worked for 6 hours. I got to do everything I wanted to do. I got to see Phantom of the Opera in the auditorium that was built for that play. That was cool. I got to see the Cirque du Soleil Beatles-themed show, which was amazing.
Really?
Oh, it was very cool. Cirque du Soleil set to the music of the Beatles performed live. It was great. Got to see the Lion King on the Strip. Fantastic. Got to hit every major casino. Got to check out, Tremont Street, whatever it's called. Got to see all of it. Got to do all of it. And I'm a guy, I don't know about you, Zoe, but I am a dude that once I see a place, once I've gone to a place, usually I go, okay, I may not have gotten to do everything, but the world is so full of places that it takes a lot to get me to want to go back to a place for another vacation. It happens very rarely.
I agree. The only time I go back to the same place for vacation is if I feel comfortable and it's very low key.
Yeah.
And then it's not about going to see, I haven't been there before, I want to see this. It's about going there because it almost feels like home.
Yeah.
But there's water.
See, I'm the other way. I go back to a place if I went, that blew my mind and I have to experience it again, right? I've been very, very I love traveling, right? The reason I don't own a lot of stuff is because my money, when I have extra, goes into travel. I like going on trips. Did Boston and New York last year. First time I'd ever been to Boston. First time I had been to New York since I was a kid. My parents took me when I was a kid. Phenomenal time, but I wanted to go back as a grown-up, right? New York was fun. I enjoyed New York. I don't know that I'll make a return trip to New York. It was fun, but I got to see and do what I wanted to see and do. Went to the top of the Freedom Tower. Got to see the Statue of Liberty when I was younger, you know? There are so many more awesome places in these great United States. I don't need to do New York again. Boston blew my mind. I loved Boston. Boston was a city that like halfway through, I was like, I'd go back to Boston. I'd do this again. So I will go back to Boston. Vegas was amazing. It was amazing. I was there for 5 days. I had a great time. But Vegas was a place that I was like, I've seen it. I've done it. I hit the highlights. I did the pool party. I did the sports book for a full night. Gambling on international cricket with a bunch of drunk Australian guys in a sports book. That was amazing. Did a boxing match at a casino. That was great. Saw the fountains at the Bellagio. I've seen it. I did it. Never wanted to go back. Till now. If you think for a second that I am not interested in going to watch them run an F1 race on the streets of Las Vegas, Nevada, right down the strip. I don't know if you see the map. I don't know if it means anything to you, Lonzo, but this right here is the Vegas Strip, right? Bellagio, that's Mandalay Bay. That's the Bellagio. That's Paris. I think Circus, the New York, and they are just running a race right in front of these classic hotels.
I remember when they did something similar. I'm pretty sure it was open wheel through downtown Columbus, and that was a pretty cool deal. And even though I haven't been to Vegas, I mean that strip is so famous. And it's been in so many movies and so many shows.
Oh, yeah.
Just imagining them. But how wide is the road?
I'm going to assume it's probably 4-lane, 5-lane. I mean, it's wide. It's not like they're running down a 2-lane highway. The Vegas Strip is big.
I was just curious if it would require some construction. I mean, barriers, yeah. But
yeah, they're going to throw barriers everywhere. And my bet would be that they will, repave the road for this.
And when they do something like this, if you're getting fairly close to buildings, do they have to test the integrity of the buildings themselves, about the glass and things in there, because of how loud these things are?
I don't think so, because the F, and I've never seen an F1 race in person. That's another reason I want to do it, right? I love NASCAR races. I've gone to 6 or 7 so far, and I'll go to every one I can get tickets to. as of right now, planning on going to the Bristol Dirt Race on Easter Sunday. Can't wait. They're not, I don't believe, I mean, they're loud, but I don't believe they are as loud. I don't think they're going to have to do any of that. They will have to put barriers up, and I imagine that they'll have the big fences because you're going to have people standing on the side of the strip watching these F1 cars rip by, right? But this is incredible. And this is the kind of stuff that sports will keep doing to refresh interest in it, right? I don't watch a lot of F1 races. Effectively, I watch F1 if it's 3:30 in the morning, insomnia has kicked in, I can't sleep, I'm flipping channels, and there's an F1 race on, I'll pop in and watch it. Or if there's a big storyline playing out, right? Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen last year. Their race for an F1 championship got dramatic, and even though I wasn't an F1 guy, I absolutely made sure I watched the F1 season finale live to watch that play out. It was great. Now, adding on to that story, yesterday, Major League Baseball announced the creation of Home Run Derby X. It is a home run derby tournament featuring former MLB players representing the teams that they played for. It is a global event. And dude, I am so in, right? So what this is effectively a standalone sport based on baseball, inspired by the Home Run Derby. It is 2 teams of 4 players. You put one in the bat from one team. The second team puts their 4 guys out in the field. It is a shorter field than a traditional baseball field. But there are 4 defenders. Each batter gets an at-bat that consists of 25 pitches, while, 2 of the opponents will be in the outfield. If the at-bat player hits a home run, it is worth 1 point. However, if the outfielder catches a hit, the defense gets 1 point. There will also be floating targets out over the fence, a la MTV's Jock Jams with their 10-point bubble on the Jock Jams court.
See, I was thinking this was more
Rock
like
and Jock, that's what it was called.
more like quarterback challenge for the NFL.
Kind of, but instead of throwing at targets, you're hitting baseballs, and if the ball hits a target, instead of 1 point, you get 3 or 5 or whatever they are. If the defense catches your hit, they get 1 point. Each batter gets 25, so each team gets 100 pitches, right?
Where are the targets at?
Scattered out in the field.
So what if you catch the ball off the target?
I don't know how it's going to work yet.
Okay, I'm just...
They haven't actually showed us this game yet. So, home plate will be mounted on a stage, and the pitcher's mound will be mounted on a podium. And each team will feature 4 different categories of people. Each team will get 1 MLB legend that represents the team they played for. As of right now, the 4 teams that are in so far are the Red Sox, the Cubs, the Dodgers, and the Yankees, the 4 oldest Major League Baseball teams. 1 MLB legend, 1 superstar, which is a player who hails from the world of softball or women's baseball, 1 rookie, which is a player that will come from the men's baseball development system, so effectively a minor leaguer representing one of these teams, and 1 wild card, which is being labeled as an influential content creator of that team's choice. So you could have like...
Kim Kardashian.
Why would that be the one you picked?
You said influencer. I guess that's an influencer,
I was going
right?
to go Big Boy from Outkast representing Atlanta.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
So you get like a hip-hop or musician
Or maybe like Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
Although whatever his name is now.
Yeah.
His dad was like the softball champion
Yeah.
of the world. So.
Can you imagine Brock Lesnar representing the Minnesota Twins, right? Like, I'm all in for this. The 4 different teams will participate in a bracket format at each of the events in various cities internationally. They will compete for points after they do a full round robin. The top, the teams will move on to a playoff, the top 2 teams to a championship. They will have tour stops in London, Seoul, South Korea, Mexico City in 2022. So far, we know that Adrian Gonzalez, Johnny Gomez, Giovanni Soto, and Nick Swisher will be competing as part of the teams. Guys, sports. Do things that are new. Do things that are different. Do things that are fun, right? You can have the game be serious. You can have the game be the game. And we're all going to watch because we love sports. But do things that are new. Do things that are fun. Do things that are different. And you will get me clocked in. Keegan sent me this via DM on Twitter last night. And my immediate response was, when does this start? Because I am all in live.
Not that it's a bad thing, but this just sounds like something that kids make up in the backyard because they don't have enough bases or something.
Yeah. And you know what that is to me?
Fun.
Yeah. Dude, the games I want to see professional athletes play, not outside of the leagues, outside of the associations, outside of the tours. The games I want to see athletes play are the games that me and the boys used to run in the backyard when we didn't have enough to play baseball. All right, new game. Home run derby, except for we're going to throw, pillows out in the outfield. And if you hit a pillow instead of a home run, it's 10 points instead of 1. Give me that game all day, but play by athletes. It's fun. It's not going to be anything that's going to put up with baseball's numbers on TV, but you know what it will do? Guys like Jack, who is an amateur baseball fan. He tunes in for 7 to 12 Braves games a year and the playoffs. He's going to tune in. And if he has fun with this, maybe he watches the real home run derby at the All-Star game. Maybe he watches the All-Star game. Maybe that hooks him back in. Do things that are new, fun, and different. People will show up. Let's run to a break. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, it's Thursday. And you know what that means. It is time for Lonzo's Fight Club. Your home for all things combat sports here in the Upstate. That's next, right here, and only here on the Fan Upstate.
only got 40 minutes.
It's
left.
only your segment to host, pal.
Yeah, there's that. But I get to talk about how tired I am and why I'm tired. So, there's that. And then there's a Taco Bell commercial. We were talking about playmaking tacos.
Big algorithm is listening. Somebody posted a question on Reddit that I saw last night, and it genuinely caused me to go to sleep about 10 minutes later than I should have. Oh, for one. That's a tough one. Somebody posted on Reddit the question. In The Little Mermaid, why were there stairs in King Triton's palace? And I think it's a very valid question.
The answer to that question is majesty. It's, well, if you're going to have a dais, you got to have something leading up to the dais. I know you can just swim up to it, but I mean,
my thought was
you're more daisy if you have steps leading up to your dais.
My thought was, and what
A throne ain't a throne unless it's got height to it.
No, but you can just have it up on a platform, right? Like a platform with a slope up to it to make it look good. But my thought was this, and this is, I had to come up with an answer before I could turn my brain off and go to bed. The answer I came up with was because they lived in the lost city of Atlantis, and it used to be above water. And after Atlantis sunk, the people of Atlantis turned into mermaids, but obviously they wouldn't have changed the architecture of their city.
Right.
That was the answer I came up with.
That works. It does work. You're right. But erosion would make those steps not look so steppy. Sorry, vocabulary is not there today. Not that it is normally, but,
I have to get off of Reddit. Somebody else just asked the question, aren't chicken nuggets technically meatballs? The answer is yes.
No, because they're not round. A ball has to be round.
Fair enough. Okay, I accept that.
Welcome into the Fight Club, where I muster the most energy I've had all day to make it sound like I am ready to go. I am ready to go home and take a nap. But, and the reason why I'm ready to go home and take a nap is because Rob and I were out really late, which for him, not a big deal. But for me, I'm a grandpa. I shouldn't be out that late. But, I made that sacrifice for you, the listener, because I'm that caring, I'm that giving.
We did it for you, the people.
That's what we do.
I asked Lonzo a question on the ride back from Columbia. I don't remember what the question was, but I remember the answer. I said, Lonzo, insert question here, and the answer was about 5 seconds of silence followed by, what?
No, it was, what?
There it was. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, because I was trying to decide, should I go to sleep? No, because if I go to sleep, we'll probably, even though he had GPS, he still was asking me for the quickest way, which I was unable to provide because I was too tired, but still I attempted it. And there are telltale signs when you're driving in the Lawrence at night that you want to be able to convey to the people who are driving and riding to stay safe. So, I wanted to make sure that I was alert for that.
Like the repeated, be prepared to stop for the rest of your lives sign.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, there are things that you can dodge if you know to look for it. So last night, Rob and I went to Columbia for to the Colonial Life Arena, the first time that he and I had visited there. And wow, it was a really
Phenomenal
nice
arena.
place. It was. My first concern though is that parking was readily available, and when you see that, you're like, okay, this thing is not sold out, which it wasn't. I mean, they may have built it as a sellout. It was close. It was close. There's some spots here and there, but not bad for the first time AEW showing up in Columbia. There are a couple things that stood out in the ring, aside from the wrestling. The Dapper Yapper knows how to work a crowd. I think it's Justin Roberts, I believe is his name. That dude knows how to work a crowd. And Jesus was present, and he was
0-1 in AEW.
but he was careful. He was careful because he could have went some.
Oh, yeah.
He even hesitated a couple times, and it's like, okay, he's about to go somewhere he knows he's going to get in trouble for, and he did not.
Having seen in the last 2 months, having seen both Monday Night Raw and AEW, here's what I'll tell you. As far as entertainment during the show, to me, they were level, right? For different reasons. I think the wrestling was better on AEW. I think the mic work during Raw for the shows we went to were better. I will tell you that WWE is better at entertaining the crowd between matches. Genuinely, I think they were better because basically AEW, all they did was they had Justin Roberts pop in the ring with a mic and interact with the crowd, which was fine. I think it was good. But
It got repetitive.
Right. After 4.5 hours, he's only got so many consistent jokes to go with. Whereas WWE, when they go to commercial between matches, they were doing stuff, man. Like they had entertainment stuff going on to kind of keep the crowd involved. And I don't wonder if that's something that AEW doesn't need to move into, because there were definitely spots mid-match or post-match where you'd come back from a commercial and the crowd had kind of gone to sleep a little bit during the break, and guys were coming out to a cold crowd and having to work them back up. Whereas with WWE, they were doing stuff constantly. So when you come from, it felt like you never took a break during 4 hours of Raw. Whereas during 4 hours of Dark, Dynamite, and Rampage, there were moments where as a crowd, it kind of felt like these guys have to wake this crowd back up, which was a little bit disappointing. Now I want to go back and now having seen one in person, because I haven't seen an AEW show since I think Fight for the Fallen 2 in Jacksonville like 3 years ago. Having seen a regular TV show in person, now I want to go back and see, does the crowd come across as asleep coming out of a break, and we'll know why.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there enhancement? And we'll should be able to tell, having actually been there. Now, the in-ring work, for the most part, was great. It really was. And as I sat there looking like I'm not enjoying myself, because that's how I look, even though I was having a blast.
You know, RBF for Lonzo, it means resting board face.
No, I was... that's my listening face, because I'm listening to so if you're sitting anywhere near me, be careful what you talk about. I'm not eavesdropping because you're talking really loud. I'm listening to conversations. I'm trying to see, because life is show prep, I'm trying to see, is everybody else having a good time? Because my good time and your good time is something totally different. I enjoyed who I went with. I didn't enjoy who was sitting around me for reasons I will disclose in a moment, because I don't care and I'm sleepy. But the atmosphere, the AEW fans are different to a degree than the WWE fans, because some of the AEW fans are rabid to the point where they're having such a good time that it's akin to being in a mosh pit. I think you're just having a good time, being as crazy as you possibly can. Now, as far as the in-ring stuff goes, first we got to see Paul White step up from, it wasn't the very first match, but at the end of Dark, we get to see him stand up and go out to the ring and do what he said he was hoping to get to do right here on the show exclusively.
Which we broke, by the way.
Yes, we did. We broke several things. And as soon as he stood up, someone to our right is yelling, "Captain Insano shows no mercy."
It's so awesome.
And all I can think of was, yeah, he broke that on our show. Then also, after seeing him in the ring, and I really loved interviewing him, I'm not so sure he gets what he wants
So,
because he's had hip replacements
Yeah.
and things like that, and you can tell it's kind of a struggle, especially for a guy his size and his age.
Yeah, he was definitely slow. He went to the guy he was wrestling went to Irish whip him, and when he tried to pull, Paul stopped, and you could see him do the lean in and talk, and you know good and well he was going, yeah, I can't do that, dude. You're just gonna I'm gonna reverse it and get you. But the way they set it up was kind of cool. Paul came out while all the lights were still out, right? Like the rest of the announcers, when they came out, they turned on the lights and announced them. Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, whatever. When Paul came out before dark, the lights were all out. And instead of coming out the tunnel where the rest of the guys came out, he kind of came out from behind the stage and got behind the desk. And when he came out, all the people in the two sections by the announcer's table popped for him. But he looked and he started shushing him. He's like, shh, 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 like was giving him the shush sign. And I'm like, oh, how humble of Paul White. But I didn't recognize it was because he was in his ring gear.
I did see.
They realized he was in gear.
Yeah.
So when they went, they introduced the guy. And with the other matches, they would say, like, all right, guys, next match coming back out of this break is going to be so-and-so. But for the last guy, they brought out this big dude.
He's
his job.
relatively big.
Okay.
Yeah.
Compared to us normal people, they brought out this big dude. And all of us, me, Joe, Lonzo, all the guys around us were like, who do they have for this guy, right? Like, who are they going to feed this guy? Out of the undercard and mid-card, this guy's big. Who are they going to feed this guy? And I never even thought, Paul, right?
Right. I'd forgotten all about that.
Yeah, I never even thought, Paul. So then Justin Roberts gets in the ring, and he's like, and his opponent. Standing 7 feet. And as soon as he said that, all of us were like, oh, my God. He announces Paul. Paul's still behind the announce desk. Paul pushes the chair back, takes off the headset. After the announcement is done, before his name gets called, stands up, and it's like, that's why he didn't have sleeves on. He's in his ring gear.
Yeah.
He's in ring gear. And he meandered down, and it was cool, man. He played to the crowd. He gave the hand up in the air, leaning on the rope. It was cool. And Paul's a little, he's a couple of steps slower than the Giant used to be. But for what Paul's capable of doing, he was entertaining for that match.
And there's at the moment, I thought those are the loudest slaps I've ever heard in my life. Later on, I forgot all about those slaps.
Bro, so he did the shh and hit the boy with a chop.
Yeah,
and we were all like, oof, that hurts. And then Daniel Bryan and Wheeler Yuta decided, let's see who can stop each other's heart first.
Yeah, and would that have happened if the Will Smith thing hadn't happened? I don't know. Are you taking advantage of that? Because there were a lot of Will Smith chants in the arena. If you've ever seen slap fights on YouTube, and there actually are slap fight competitions. Watch the Ocho when it comes back around.
Or don't.
Yeah,
They're brutal.
yeah. That's what that was. That was a slap fight. That was awesome. It really was awesome. Toni Storm makes her debut in AEW. Apparently being burnt out only lasts for like a month or so, and then you're not burnt out anymore, which is an amazing thing.
I believe you can be burnt out by atmosphere, but not job, right? I've been in this job. I love this job. I work for this job. I have been burnt out by stations that I'm like, I'm done. And then get an opportunity to change the scenery, and I'm right back to loving what I do. I fully suspect that was the case with Toni Storm.
All right, so I've been to pay-per-views. I've been to a lot of different wrestling things. It's the first time going to AEW. I decided to go to the restroom when FTR was on because I'm not watching them. So I went to the restroom because, I know it's not going to be a high-flying match, the kind of stuff that real wrestling fans likes. They're just going to throw punches and stuff, and who wants to see that? So I went to the restroom. So while in the restroom, as I'm going in, I noticed they're roping things off in the lobby area. And where our seats were, you had to go all the way to one end to go to our seats. So they blocked that off. And I'm like, okay, I know what's going down here, but I don't know what it is. So I come out of the restroom, and they won't let you go back to your seats. So I was going to get something to drink, and I knew I was about to see a show, so I went ahead and got some popcorn. So I stood there with it. Yes, I literally got popcorn to watch the show that was about to happen in the lobby. So as I'm standing there, I see a security guard fly through the air and hit the wall. and I couldn't see who it was until after the security guard landed, and there was Wardlow walking out, just tossing security guards right and left. And you won't see it, or it's already aired last night. You won't see it because they kept the shots tight. They didn't show the crowd at all. But I'm just standing right there eating popcorn and just watching him. That I've never been able to see that. I've seen it on TV. It's so cool being in the lobby when that actually happens. And Rob was thinking, okay, he's holding this FTR thing. He's all the way through.
Listen, I genuinely thought Lonzo was costing himself what I honestly thought was an entertaining match. I don't know if Zoe would have had he seen it.
I did see it.
Did you?
It's on the monitors.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
I was entertained by it. Now, I'm an FTR fan anyway. I like that FTR is old school.
Do you like that they're turning
wrestling.
face, though?
I do. I like FTR.
All right.
I think they're great.
By the way, if you want to see
Lonzo.
FTR, next Saturday and Sunday, they will be at South Carolina Comic-Con at the Greenville Convention Center. Get you some tickets and go see them. You can actually meet them. Yes.
Zone, I'll be there. So Lonzo gets up because that was one, we go to break and they're like, all right, folks, coming up next. We got and they put it up on the screen, FTR v Top Flight. The Ass Boys. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. And Lonzo just goes, all right, bathroom break, and walks off. I'm like, all right, I knew he was going to do that. But he is gone for the better part of 15, 17 minutes. And I'm talking to Joey B, our friend of the show who was with us. And I'm like, dude, I know Lonzo said he was going to hit a restroom break for FTR, but like, this is ridiculous. He's missing a fun, entertaining match. And then all of a sudden, the curtain opens at the top because they close the curtain so light doesn't flood in. They close the curtain opens, but nothing happens. I'm like, all right. And then they turn on the screen and they show on the monitors in the arena Wardlow decimating a squadron of security guys coming down the hallway. And I'm like, Zoe got front row seats to watch Wardlow destroy a fistful of local jobbers, which he did. He comes back, he's got popcorn. And I'm like, he's like, yeah, I got caught in traffic. Like, you got to be kidding me. That's awesome. Anyway, Wardlow comes down the staircase in our section, like right next to us, which was great. The other thing that was cool for us was that our seats were literally next to the stage. We were, 7, 8 rows up from the stage. And all of the losers of the matches, instead of going up the ramp, came around the side of the stage right in front of us, which was kind of rad because they do the walk with the hand over the head. Oh my God, I just died in the ring. But when they would get there and they're off cam, they would interact with the audience next to where we were. So like Moxley came by, Keith Lee and Swerve came by.
Wheeler Yuta got some love. He stopped and he looked, and he deserved it. He absolutely deserved it.
Phenomenal show. But the dopest part to me, and I hate to jump the gun on you here, Lonzo, but at one point, when Adam Cole Bebe is out in the ring with Red Dragon celebrating their title acquisitions, which was hilarious. Camera guy, there was one gimbal camera guy, right? Like the moving guy, the guy that runs around with everybody. And he sets up at the little dead space right in front of us where the wrestlers go by in the back. He just sets up, but nothing's happening. And I'm like, all right, Hangman's coming out, right? Like, that's got to be what it is. Hangman's coming out. Hangman rolls into the building in a Tesla.
Yeah, it was so.
A Tesla electric car.
With horns, yeah.
With long horns attached to the front, which led me to brand him JB Millennial.
Yeah.
It was amazing. He goes into the ring, gets it, clears the ring of Red Dragon and Adam Cole. They get back in 3-on-1, and then out comes Jurassic Express, which was cool to see. That wasn't the best part. The best part was big-ass Luchasaurus trying to squeeze his gigantic frame into the backseat of a mid-size electric Tesla.
And when I say we all, everyone in our, there's just no way he's getting in there. There's people are saying out loud, you are not getting in that, and he got into it.
He had to squeeze. Like, he got in, and he had to do the, like,
and he's a real, he's
down.
He's
a big dude.
I don't know. He's like 6'6", 6'7", something.
Oh,
he's a very
6'8".
large guy, and him getting in there, that was great. All right, we need to go to break, but before we do, I want to tell you about the atmosphere around us, because directly in front of us was this dude who was continually getting drunk. I was close to going to security on this, which I've never done before, but he kept smacking his buddy who he was with
Like in
and
the
hitting
face.
him. Yeah, it made me so mad. I'm like, and it's a little dude. I'm like, dude, why don't you stand up for yourself? And finally he's like, that's enough. And he kept holding him off and he kept wanting to do it. And he stopped him just by telling him that's enough. And he stopped. But his tolerance was really high to the point where it was uncomfortable. I mean, it's like, dude, stop doing that. But that wasn't nearly as uncomfortable as the guy to my right who, first of all, developed some sweat stank as the night progressed. But on top of that, he canceled out his sweat stank by passing gas repeatedly to the point where
Zoe decided he wanted to talk about this
Yes.
more than some great wrestling matches.
absolutely, because it was
So
nasty. It was nasty.
Like we make no apologies about the fact that we're wrestling fans, but you know, when I'm out in public, I don't often open up the discussion with like, yeah, I'm a big wrestling guy. I keep it to myself with people I don't know, not because I'm ashamed of wrestling fans, but because I am ashamed of other wrestling fans like this guy, right? This is the guy that when people make fun of wrestling fans, they're making fun of. But I asked Zoe, I'm like, how do you know it was this guy? And he goes, because almost every time you would get the smell and the guy would just be like standing there with the like looking down at the floor like, oh, definitely wasn't me face. Yes, it was, guy. We know. Stop it. Stop it. Wheeler Yuta's incredible. Sky Blue was surprisingly entertaining. And
In a lot of ways, yeah.
Red Velvet, smoke show. Love her. She's amazing. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap this bad boy up next to the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. Be right back. Stream, hang in there.
All right, time for Twitter trending topics. Tell Rob what's trending, and he tells us what he knows about it. Bruce Willis is trending.
Dude, talk about a terrible story, man. So Bruce Willis has been diagnosed with a form of brain degeneration, which is going to lead to loss of ability to communicate, right? Like he will not be able to and I don't know, I didn't do the research last night because I found this out while we were driving. I don't know if it just means talk. I don't mean if it literally means construct thoughts to communicate to other people. But there have been rumors something was going on because Bruce Willis has been popping up in like all these random B and C movies. And people are like, why is Bruce Willis doing this? And the answer is he wanted to work as much as he could and earn as much money as he could because he's got this this degenerative disease, which is sad, man. Bruce Willis is one of the most charismatic actors of the past, 40 years. This dude has been making movies we've all loved. Man, dude, sometimes life's not fair. Like sometimes life's not fair, and Bruce Willis caught a bad draw on this, which is too damn bad. John McClane forever.
You know, it's horrible that this is happening to anybody, and especially to him. And how hard would it be to be able to, if it doesn't affect your thoughts, but it only affects your speech, to be able to watch movies that you've done when you've been able to speak and no longer be able to do that? That would have to be very difficult. All right, we got time for one more. Marco Stunt is trending.
Yeah, so Dirt Sheet Report dropped that, Marco Stunt did not resign with AEW. He had been kind of coming out with Jurassic Express for a while. AEW cited budget cuts and an overinflated roster as the reason they could not bring back. But at the end of the day, look, I love Marco Stunt. He was fun. He was entertaining. Is Marco Stunt adding anything to the roster?
Is Christian Cage?
Yeah, he's Christian.
Yeah, I know, but it's kind of doing the same thing. At least Marco could still wrestle.
Was used by Luchasaurus as a human lawn dart occasionally.
A lot of fun to watch.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Hey, don't insult the peeps. That's it for us. Jim Rome takes you to the jungle next. Mark Ryan and Offsides at 3. We'll see you tomorrow on The Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later, brother. Thanks for watching.